What's going on, guys? It's Noah from Pioneer Sport Cards, and today I had a video that was near and dear to my heart. I wanted to talk about why F1 cards are here to stay and not the fad like some of these YouTubers think it is. Yeah, I've been seeing so much negativity around the F1 cards from certain YouTubers. I really don't want to call them out, but they've just been really calling it out and using hypocritical arguments that don't make any sense whatsoever. Or they'll say things about F1, but they'll say things about other sports that coincide with each other, but they try to argue against it. So I wanted to touch on I wrote down 5 quick points for me to touch on. For some of the points, I'll throw up pictures or screenshots to kind of help support me, so it's not like I'm just spouting off whatever numbers I feel like. So you actually have some reference point to go off of. So my first reason I wanted to talk about why F1 cards are here for the long haul is the show Drive to Survive. I felt this is a pretty easy argument, an elephant in the room. The Drive to Survive is absolutely helping the F1 and just F1 cards itself. And to give you guys some quick numbers, in 2018, F1 viewership in America was about 547,000 viewers for a race. And then in 2021, after 3 seasons of Drive to Survive, that number grew to 928,000, so almost up 100%. Probably around 80% if I did the quick math in my head, that viewership in just America alone has gone up. That's not to mention the people in the United Kingdom who are watching, who are in Germany, all these other places that are watching Drive to Survive and bringing viewership up as well. So the next one, kind of following in a similar suit to that, just to kind of touch on how many more eyeballs F1 is getting over the past few years, is that Formula One is the #1 growing sport in social media engagement. And this is kind of hard for me to describe, but I'll do it the best I can. So on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you can measure media engagement by the amount of new people who are clicking on F1 videos, F1 content, F1 articles, stuff like that. And they track this over across all different sports to see how sports are handling themselves. And F1 grew almost basically 100% over the past year, which is ridiculous growth. I remember that, I can't remember exactly what sport, but I looked at NFL, I looked at MLB and NBA. One of them was up, I think, like 20 to 10%. Then 2 of them are down. I'll post a picture of exactly which sports were up in views and which ones were down. It's pretty interesting to look at. So yeah, the next one I wanted to touch on is still about viewership, and it's about how many people actually watch a single F1 race. I've heard so many guys say there's no eyeballs on F1 whatsoever, when it's completely false. So average viewership for a Formula One race around the world for just a single race is 90 million viewers. And to put that into perspective, that's the average viewership that one Super Bowl gets. So imagine 20 to 25 Super Bowl-like events every single year. That's the amount of eyeballs you're getting on Formula One. So it's not this small pool that these F1 haters make it out to be. Next up, so since Topps released their first product this year, the last product before was, I had it out, this was the last Formula One product made, 1992 grid. So you can say it was almost 25 to 30 years since an F1 card product has come out. So yeah, I've heard the argument that F1 cards had no hype before this year, which is really a dumb argument to make because F1 cards didn't really exist. They didn't exist for over 25 years before this. So it makes no sense to say that. And also on that line is the F1 card market is still really, really small compared to all the other sports. And one of the reasons why is that people just didn't know that F1 cards existed up until this point for all these new people coming in. Just for some evidence of this, I set up at the Silicon Valley Card Show 2 days ago that I said like in yesterday's video, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me. They said, "Oh, F1 has cards? I didn't even know that." And like on this YouTube echo chamber, people think that everybody knows everything, but there are still so many people who didn't know F1 even has cards in the first place that it's here to stay. Like people aren't gonna be like interested like that and not want to jump in at all. And the last one that I really wanted to talk about, that I think is the biggest hypocritical argument people make on F1 cards and why it's here to stay, is I've been in it for a few years, and I remember when we were having this exact same argument with soccer cards. I remember in 2019, 2020, people were down into the soccer card market and why that was never going to stick and why it's just not something that'll count. And I think this was a really interesting point because the arguments I hear for F1 and soccer are pretty similar, but people love using double standards against. There is a certain individual I'm thinking of that I watched recently. He's known in the F1 market to be down on F1 cards and to trash talk it every time he gets. But he calls F1 a fad, so that might give it away right there. But he calls the F1 market a fad, but then talks about the soccer market. And in the same sense, they're one and the same. They have the exact same points. They're both markets that are typically not American. Most of the markets will come from Europe or outside, and they get tons of viewership. Now, I'm not going to argue that soccer doesn't get more viewers than F1 because that would just be a dumb argument for me to make. But when you're getting, I'm trying to do the math, 90 million viewers each race for 20 races, think about how many eyes that is. That's much more than you'll see for any season in an NFL season, an MLB season, and NBA is the only one that might be close to that just because of their market in Europe and in Asia. But yeah, and look how big look at the boom of the basketball card market. If F1 gets even 50% of that, the eyeballs that basketball gets in the card market, think about how much these cards will explode in general. Like, it doesn't take me to be a rocket scientist to figure out that F1 is still, even with the people who don't know much about F1 and are pumping it up, a lot of big YouTubers who are doing that, it's still way down in general. They've only managed to pump Lewis Hamilton. Well, there are so many other better buys than Hamilton right now anyways, that if you know what you're doing, you can make a lot of money. And I guess my last point is not on the topic of why F1's here to stay, but it's just a general warning to watch out for these big YouTubers. At this point, I'll say names. I'm not gonna say anything bad about them at all. But for some big YouTubers that are like talking about F1, I think the biggest one is Sasha. There's nothing wrong with him getting into F1 cards, but for somebody who doesn't watch races and know a whole lot about the sport, you have to be really wary of what these guys are saying as they talk about Lewis Hamilton, but there are so many other guys that are so much better buys right now in the F1 cards that they don't talk about, that if you do some of your own research, just look at a few of the other guys, you'll see. I'll give a little hint. There's a few guys up that you're looking at right now that I think are really good buys. And I'm not talking about the one in the middle. I'm not talking about the one in the middle as an FYI for that. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that like these card guys, they don't, like if you were to ask them to name 3 drivers, I don't think they could. And are you going to take investment advice on stocks if somebody knows only 3 stocks? Like, I'll go to the Reddit example. If somebody, a real investor, wants to invest in stocks and they hear somebody say to buy GameStop, AMC, and Nokia, like, are you going to take them as actual sound advice, or are you going to see them as like a joke who doesn't really know what they're like talking about? You can make money doing that, but you're not going to have the success in the guys who are really doing research. And that's basically what they're doing right now. So do your own research, keep in mind what you're doing. And yeah, so hopefully this helps clear some of the air on why F1 cards are here to stay. F1 is going to be coming out with a bunch of new products every year as well. I think this year they're coming out with a paper. They're going to do Dynasty again. They're going to do Chrome. I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or two if they jump to something like a F1 Stadium Club or something like that, as there's a lot of great pictures. So keep that in mind now when you're buying, that F1 cards are here to stay. I think it'll tie, the best example is to tie this into soccer. When soccer goes up, F1 will go up as well. So I hope this helps you get over some of the nerves of F1 cards not being here to stay, as there's a lot of growth still to come, and I think it'll be great for the card market in general to have another big player in sports. So yeah, feel free to subscribe to me. It really helps me out a lot with the F1 card videos, as I'm trying to get F1 cards to have a bigger audience, as they are here to stay, like I say. So follow along. I try to give as best advice as I can. Maybe once every 2 weeks or so, I try to come out with a new video of new guys to look interested into buying. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and you go buy some F1 cards. Feel free to share them with me on my Instagram. Love seeing what people are buying. Join the Discord. I'll leave the link down below. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and stay safe. I'll see you guys later. Bye.